Mack Truck, aka your worst nightmare. Mack Truck, aka your worst nightmare. Mack Truck, aka your worst nightmare. Mack Truck, Mack Truck, Mack Truck.
Good morning, y'all. We're here. It is Wednesday, hump day, August 12th, 2026. My name is Mack Truck. You're listening, watching, viewing all things Mack Truck in the morning, the Mack Truck podcast, Mack Truck morning-ish. I appreciate you guys for joining me. We had a little bit of technical difficulty, but I think our system over here in the home studio just randomly updated on us on accident. So, but we're here. Like I said, we're here live, the Mack Truck Pod. We're here on the normal page today. I wanted to give everybody one more chance to tap in over here. And remember that we are switching over to the pod page. We had our first show of the week, or second show of the week rather, on the pod page yesterday. But I wanted to make sure everybody was aware that we are switching over to the pod page for the rest of the week and from here on out. So please make sure you are following the pod page in its entirety. And like I said, we're here, we're talking sports, all things WNBA, all things sports here. I appreciate you guys, for everybody tapping, everybody joining in, all of the things. It's a little interesting here today. Not really feeling the best, but you know, that's what happens with weather change and everything, and who's the what's-its and the whatnots, and just the natural order of life in its entirety. So, but we are here. We're hanging out, just chilling. Going to talk some sports here. Going to get ready and share it all out. So, like I said, if you're here, make sure you're following, sharing, and subscribing to the Mack Truck podcast, as well as making sure you're following everything in the Underknown Network. Okay? I'm here. You're here. I see my executive producer is here. Hello. Good morning, sir. How are you? Like I said, we're getting it all together here, tapping it out, sharing the things. Thank you, sir. Getting some people in here. Like I said, I wanted to give people a chance to know that we are, in fact, still switching over to the podcast page. If you're on this side of things, you'll see that the podcast page itself is tapping the screen. So go ahead and follow that, because that's where all of our shows will be from now on. Good morning, G. How you doing? Thank you for joining us. We got a lot to talk about, but really lots of details just with two topics today. I'm going to talk about the NFL, really the meat and bones of Kyler Murray and his starting position as the starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings, as well as the interesting controversy with Tony Romo in this DUI situation, and where he stands with CBS, as well as all the stats and drama and fun from the WNBA games last night. So we're going to get into it. Like I said, this show is broadcasted and presented to you by the Underknown Network, as well as TikTok Live. My name's Mack Truck. We're doing well today. Like I said, feeling a little under the weather, but it was just kind of random. So hoping it just goes away and just kind of, really decides to sell itself before I have to go work for 8 hours. Either way, I appreciate you guys for joining us here today. So like I said, if you're here with us, thank you for joining me. Go ahead and tap it out, share it out, get your dailies, all of the things. Let's get some of these frags back. Let's get all the information out there. Let's have a good time talking sports for the next couple hours. And I mean, like, really hour and 30-ish minutes, hour and 15, depending on how well the conversation goes. But we're here. It's Wednesday. We're already halfway through the week, guys. And I'm not really sure how I feel about it. I feel like this week's kind of just flown by for really no reason at all. And sometimes there's weeks like that, and sometimes there's weeks where it's just like, oh, like we're just dragging. It's only Tuesday or it's only Monday type of thing. So, like I said, I appreciate you guys for joining us here today. If you don't mind, like I said, please make sure you're following the Underknown Network in every single show that we have on the Underknown Network, including this one here at the Mack Truck Podcast. Especially make sure you are following On the Map. There is no On the Map in terms of show this week, but there may possibly be on the Mac Music Reviews. Also, go ahead and follow Flying Out with That Dude Biggs, as well as Recognized Game that comes back on the 23rd of the month, this month particularly. Okay, make sure you're following FLG Game Flow with J-Mac as well. Listen, we're out here. It's Wednesday. We had WNBA basketball at a high level, mind you. If y'all did not watch the WNBA last night, and I know sometimes it can get a little redundant, but that's what's happening right now. It's spring and summer sports, coming to a close in the middle of the season, all the things. But the WNBA is one of the hottest topics, and we're talking about it. That's what we're doing. We're talking about it here on the Mac Truck podcast, Mac Truck in the morning-ish, just about 12:46 Eastern Standard Time here. So it's probably 11 Central or 11:45 Central, 10:45 Pacific, and maybe 9:45 Mountain Time here. But listen, we're here talking all things WNBA, so let's get started. We had some crazy games last night. We had some good games last night for those of you joining us, okay? Starting out, the Vegas Aces take this one at home, playing the Washington Mystics. They won by 10 points, 86-76. A'ja Wilson does what A'ja Wilson does. 26 points, shooting 10 for 18 from the field, on a perfect 5 for 5 from the free throw line. Now listen, I'm gonna stop right there and just let you guys know, if you were here with us a couple days ago when we talked about A'ja Wilson and the MVP race with the other allotted assortment of players that are in the MVP race as well. You know that her being A'ja Wilson, and Jackie Young, Chelsea Gray all had a game to rest, and then you come out spitting fire like this. Like I said, sometimes when you're in as a sporting team entity and you have a pretty good record, sometimes you take a game or two to rest your big stars and your powerhouse players, and that's what happened. Then you come out of the little break you get, then you drop 26 on them. Like I said, she also grabbed 13 rebounds with 11 defensive boards and 2 offensive boards as well. Jackie Young chipped in, and I'm going to tell you this. Jackie Young, I feel like personally, is honestly one of the more underrated players when it comes to the sport of basketball. And I'm not just talking WNBA, I'm not just talking NBA, I'm talking NBA, or I'm talking basketball in general. Like, Jackie Young is a quiet assassin. Like, Jackie Young is one of those individuals who she leads by example. And that's not to say that other people don't lead by example. Jackie Young is you don't hear a lot coming out of her mouth in terms of just like being in the media, being around. Like, she's there to play ball. She's there to help her team try to get back to another championship. Like, Jackie Young is just one of those. She's a woman. Like, she is a chick, man. Like, Jackie Young will put it on you, and if she can't find the shot, she's gonna pass it out to Jewel Lloyd, or she's gonna pass it out to Kristen Mello. She's gonna pass it out to Big 22 A'ja Wilson down there in the paint, go to pass it off to Chelsea Gray, whatever that looks like. So just big shout out to Jackie Young and just how she's just been able to develop her, like keep developing her game, even though she's already pretty damn good. I love to see it. I see you guys all both in both streams, so I appreciate you guys for being here. Go ahead and tap the screen. Go ahead and share it out. Go ahead and get your daily heart me's and all the things. Still talking here. Basketball here, WNBA here on the Mac Truck Show, the Mac Truck in the morning. I appreciate you guys for being here. Jackie Young, 5 points, had 8 assists without turning the ball over. Good morning, Alfonso. Thank you for joining us. Go ahead and tap the screen and share it out. Talking WNBA, talking all things WNBA. We are talking about Kyler Murray in the next segment, so stay tuned. Share it out. Get all your friends in here. We're talking NFL here soon. Currently still talking WNBA. But listen, Jackie Young did not turn the ball over one time this entire game. I don't know if you guys watch basketball, played basketball, have just played pickup. It's very hard to not turn the ball over, and to not turn the ball over at all during the entirety of this game is something crazy, and in the best way possible, might I add. It's just something that is kind of, it's almost unheard of, but it can be done. But when you are as good of a point guard as Jackie Young is, point guard, shooting guard combo, I should say, that type of experience shows, especially when it comes to turning over the ball. Obviously, we see a lot of players have a couple turnovers. We see a lot of like newer players that are still trying to get their feet under them have a lot of turnovers. Jackie Young is somebody who's never naturally turned the ball over a lot unless they're just having an off game, and that happens. Like you're not always going to be perfect. Like perfection is intangible. Is something that I always say. Like you can't touch perfection. You can chase it, but you're going to be chasing something for a long time. So it's just, to me, it's just very commendable that Jackie Young has just been able to deliver basketball at a high level and on one of the hottest teams in the WNBA, might I add. Moving over into the Washington side of things, the Washington Mystics, Shakira Austin finished with 20 points, while Kiki Arifin gave them 13 rebounds, 8 defensive boards, and 5 offensive boards. And I see some comments here already. Washington can't win can't win them all. Yep. Streak was bound to snap eventually. Right, exactly. And that happens. Like I said, streaks are meant to be broken, but they're also meant to be impressive depending on, all the demographics that come with said streak in terms of your sport. So I completely understand. But I think Washington's going to be able to hop back on board and kind of start a new streak. But we're getting into the thick of the season. I would say Kiki Arifin gave him 13 rebounds, 8 defensive boards, 5 offensive boards. Here's the interesting one. Georgia Amore, who also, even in year 2 or 3, is very underrated in terms of how she is controlling the court and the offense with her court vision. Georgia Amore is very, very distinct with her passes and very distinct with her shot selections, and I love to see it. She didn't have any points in this game particularly, but she did have 4 powerful assists and just 1 turnover in 20 minutes of this battle of losing by 10 to the Vegas Aces in its entirety. In itself. Moving into the next game from last night, the Phoenix Mercury versus the Los Angeles Sparks. The Mercury come away with this one 94-87 win. Naomi Blanchard led the way with 24 points, shooting 10 for 13 from the field. Alyssa Thomas gave the Phoenix Mercury a little bit of everything, 16 points, 7 rebounds, and 9 assists, played 33 minutes. And I'm going to tell you this. With Alyssa Thomas and the Phoenix Mercury, and obviously now acquiring Kelsey Plum, which is very interesting to me. I wasn't real sure how the Mercury and Kelsey Plum were going to mesh initially, but after seeing the first couple of games that Kelsey Plum has played with them, I feel like they could have used her a long time ago. I mean, obviously right now there's still a little bit time for Phoenix to try to make some kind of crazy playoff push, and it's not impossible, mind you. If you watch the sport, if you know the sport, if you know the players on these teams, it is not impossible for the Phoenix Mercury to kind of try to start digging and making a comeback. And for me, I love to see it because you literally never know what's going to happen when it comes to the back half of the WNBA season. I always like to say, and it's kind of just like any other season after the All-Star break, after the All-American break, whatever that looks like. For me, it's just like the front half of sports seasons are very, still knocking rust off from off season. Still, we're still getting to a groove. We've got a record going, whatever that looks like, or we're working through trials and tribulations. Then after that short little break, whether it's Olympic break, All-Star break, whatever that looks like, is when you really want to start playing at your peak level of sport. And that's where we're in right now for the Phoenix Mercury. I think there's so much potential there still as it is. You have Kalia Copper, you have Kelsey Plum, you have Alyssa Thomas, you have Naomi Blanchard, you have DeWanna Bonner. So you have pieces around you. Is the other thing, is you have those pieces around you to be able to do that. And now that Kelsey Plum has just added to the firepower that they had. Thank you. On the Map Network, shout out On the Map. Everybody follow On the Map for all things unknown artists, sports, and stories. Either way, I think the pieces around the current core of the Phoenix Mercury have a lot to say. Just because their record doesn't necessarily say that, I think that's where it's going to start being focused more in terms of just the media and the WNBA and the outlook of the back half of the WNBA season. I'm excited to see it. Either way, kind of moving in to the rest of these here stats. Like I said, she had 5 defensive boards, or she had 7 total, 5 defensive boards, 2 offensive boards, but also had 5 turnovers in the entirety of this game. Moving over into LA Sparks land, Dearica Hamby had 19 points and was extremely efficient, going 8 for 8 from the field as well as 8 for 8 from the free throw line as well. Nneka Ogwumike, and I'm going to stop here for just a second as well. Nneka Ogwumike has also been a quiet assassin this season. she's averaging just about 20 points, if not just there under. She's also on a team that this season has seen a lot of ups and downs. Um, they kind of just been moving pieces around. They acquired Kate Martin from the Golden State Valkyries, who acquired her from the expansion draft from Vegas. Then they had the issues with Kelsey Plum, and then she was hurt, and then she essentially got traded to the Phoenix Mercury. So they've had a lot of ups and downs, but shockingly enough, they've been able to stay consistent across the board. And I love to see that, especially when your organization itself in the front office and the coaching staff and trying to add more pieces while you're actively in a season is something that's not easy to do in its entirety. But the fact that they've been consistent, I see LA also making a huge power push in terms of trying to push into off season, in terms of trying to get into the playoff circle itself. Nneka Ogwumike finished with 18 points, 9 rebounds, including 5 offensive boards as well. She also had 8 assists and also only had 4 turnovers. She had a lot of different looks here, had a lot of production. I mean, you played just about 30-ish minutes, if not a little bit more, and you only had 4 turnovers. And Nneka Ogwumike is not even the primary ball handler. That's the crazy part about this whole thing, and I love it. But and I think turnovers are calculated by who's obviously distributing the ball the most or on average between games. And just kind of looking at some comments here, Alfonso, I need Lynn Roberts gone. I'm tired of my Sparks being terrible. Well, and listen, and I'm not going to sit here and say that I disagree with you, because I don't necessarily follow like the ins and outs of the LA Sparks like you do, since that is your team. Obviously, I'm an Indiana Fever fan. That's how I felt about Christy Sides, Caitlin Clark's rookie year, and everything. Angel Reese's rookie year when she was over in Chicago. But I liked Teaspoon in that situation. But that's how I felt Caitlin's rookie year over in Indiana with Erica Wheeler. Like, I wanted more for the Fever in its entirety, and it just felt like there was no give there, and that's okay. So sometimes when you're looking at the overall realm and scope of basketball in terms of just the WNBA, it seems to be that the pattern is like teams will go on a hot streak for a year or a couple years, and then they'll just kind of go stagnant because pieces get traded away, coaching staff gets moved around, that types of things. Main stars get moved around as well. More comments here. I can't remember the last time the Sparks made the playoffs. That's how long we've been terrible. Oh, and I definitely hate that for you, and I say that with the utmost respect, because being an Indiana Fever fan, I definitely know what it's like. Having gone to the playoffs the past 3 seasons, but just losing in the first 2 rounds is something that I definitely align with in its entirety. So I understand completely, my dear friend. Still moving on here into some more of these stats. And we've got a lot of information, stats, and history just from this New York Liberty and Indiana Fever game alone. New York Liberty dropped this one in Indiana to the Fever. The Fever win 106-92. Brianna Stewart finishes with 19 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, also without turning the ball over in just over 30 minutes of play. John Cole Jones grabbed 10 rebounds for New York Liberty as well, had 8 defensive boards, 2 offensive boards as well. But listen, and I know you guys are sick of hearing it, and I really don't know what to say or how else to really help with that. And listen, and Alfonso, and I love that you just said that, because I said the same thing to myself. So those of you who are watching on either side, Alfonso's over here on our TikTok side, saying that he did not expect the New York Liberty to be so low in the standings this year. And I think part of that is because Sabrina Ionescu was hurt for a while. Like when you're hurt, it takes a toll on your team. It takes a toll on really everything in its entirety, in terms of like your overall flow. Because remember, she had that really bad ankle sprain at the top of the season. I believe she got that ankle sprain during preseason. So it was just very little bit inconsistent from the New York Liberty, and I see more comments here. Coaching too. This guy came from the NBA, and he hasn't coached women's basketball before. Right, right. And that's the other thing is like, and that's no knock on men's coaches because there's a lot of great men's coaches out there. Obviously, Gino Uriema is one of them. And in fact, he's the best, one of the best to do it. Obviously, next to Pat Summitt, Don Staley, Lisa Luter, those types of Coach Corey Close, those types of coaches. So in terms of just not having ever coached women's professional basketball before, it's a different game. While coaching in itself always has its obstacles and its ups and downs, no matter what side of the coin you're on. But it's also very much it's very different in its entirety because it's not the same. It's not what it was before. It's not, you know, it's not the high, flashy, a little bit faster tempo pace that NBA is itself. So it's for me, it's very much like I very much understand where you're coming from as far as the New York Liberty. And their numbers being low. Now, the other thing I will say is that I think with having so many pieces being moved around and so many pieces being not in the correct spots or just not knowing when to use your assets has also been a little bit of the problem. The Indiana Fever has also have a little bit of an issue with this, but I fully believe that now with the some of the lineups and options that Coach White has had, it's kind of alleviating some of that. Also, just kind of so we are clear, there's a lot of history that's being made alone by Kelsey Mitchell for the Indiana Fever. And again, like I said, I know sometimes it gets exacerbating when we're talking about a lot of the same teams, but when a lot of those same teams are creating their records, breaking their own records, breaking previous records that haven't been broken before, haven't been sought after before, it's something that you have to talk about because it's greatness in the making, whether you're a huge fan of the W or a huge fan of whatever team, it's a thing. And when, especially in this realm of sports, and you want to make sure that we're highlighting all kinds of things. Like, I can't express to you, and I can't wait until the next time the Minnesota Lynx play because I have so much to say about the Minnesota Lynx and especially Olivia Miles. Again, if you haven't been paying attention, most of our information has been here on this side of things as far as our streams and TikTok in its entirety. So I can't wait until more of the other teams in the W that have been making statements get to play again so I could keep talking about that. And we love it here. Either way, on the Indiana Fever side of things, Kelsey Mitchell obviously was cooking per normal. 28 points, 11 for 16 for shooting. Aaliyah Boston also adding 7 rebounds while Caitlin Clark finished with 22 points, 10 assists in 35 minutes. Also, Kelsey Mitchell is still on a hot streak, y'all. Kelsey Mitchell is still on a hot streak with now one of the longest streaks in WNBA and Indiana Fever history with 17 games of 20 plus points or more. And like I said, the last time we kind of been tracking this Kelsey Mitchell historical streak and string of gameplay is Kelsey Mitchell is the consummate individual in terms of basketball, in terms of just who she is as a person, in terms of a teammate. Like I said, for those of you who obviously there's a lot of people that don't follow the ins and outs of the WNBA, let alone the Indiana Fever. But for those of you who don't know, again, Kelsey Mitchell is studying for her PhD. I don't know in what umbrella specifically, but she's literally studying for her PhD. And the Indiana Fever went back. They do have their inside the locker room and everything. Types of just media content and everything, and they literally had a clip of her sitting in a chair in the locker room fully just ready to go with her warm-ups on and cranking out this paper or thesis or whatever she was working on in the middle of trying to get ready for this game. And I was like, oh, okay, so this is what we're doing, this is how we do this. And when you're on a professional level and trying to remain on that professional level, it's something that is absolutely warranted for a celebration. So huge shout out to Kelsey Mitchell and the fact that she's just having some of these endeavors that she does, and you love to see it. I see some more comments here. Indiana is actually one of my top title contenders. Minnesota, Golden State, Indiana. That's interesting because, to be honest, right now I don't necessarily have Indiana that high in the um, title contender race. However, if they can fix their defense, if they can just keep tweaking their defense each game and keep adding those components just a little bit more, just pressing a little bit more each game, I fully will agree with you. I mean, I still think personally that the Indiana Fever is going to get to a point to where they are it's going to be pretty hard to stop them. I mean, hell, it's already hard enough to stop them in its entirety. And the fact that, like, obviously there's always room for improvement, there's always room to grow, there's always room to tweak, your game. I think that, like Alex said, adding a little bit more pressure on those defensive parts, and now that Coach White is actually, and I say actually, as far as like, because we're starting to find the solidatory core five to start. We've had a different series of core starting fives, obviously outside of Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, and Kelsey Mitchell, still solidifying those first three spots on the starting roster. We've had multiple different combinations of having, the core three, and then Lexi Hall and Monique Billings. We have the core three, and having KK Timpson and now Mercedes Russell, who we've signed due to losing Demir Stantis to a season-ending knee surgery. Like, we've had multiple combinations of a starting five, but still sticking with that core three, unless one of them has been hurt or one of them has needed rest, that type of thing. So for the Indiana Fever, I like the parity and I like the variety of different looks for a starting five that Coach White and Coach Austin have put together, Coach Breon January down there as well. So it's been awesome to see. It's just adding those little nuances to keep the game honest and keep the consistency going. And I'm going to keep reading comments and just adding back and forth. So if I'm looking over here, don't be alarmed. I swear I'm paying attention. You guys have what it takes to beat Vegas in the playoff series. Vegas may not have enough this year. I don't know if I agree with that. And I say that truthfully, not as a super fan, not as a whatever you want to label me as. I can't necessarily say that Indiana hasn't or Vegas doesn't have enough firepower, because we all know what the Aces can and have turned into when it comes to playoff basketball in the WNBA. And I say that with a lot of conviction because it's true. They've won three of four or three of five titles three titles in the past 4 or 5 years under Coach Becky Hammond. Network plug. Big shout out to the network, the Underknown Network. Make sure you're following, like, share, and subscribe. Everything on the Underknown Network, as well as the TheeMackTruck Podcast, presented to you by the Underknown Network and presented to you by the TikTok Live Sphere. Okay, we're here talking more WNBA, getting in depth here, kind of moving back into the stats and history here in terms of the Indiana Fever. So listen, like I said, we're talking history. We're talking just moments, huge moments, historical moments, specifically for Kelsey Mitchell, obviously Caitlin Clark, and some of the crazy things that happened in last night's game. And I will tell you, and I was lucky enough to actually get to watch this game on my break at work last night. I was kind of excited about it. Seeing the way the Indiana Fever, obviously, and the Fever have, and I don't want to say created a habit, because you can always break a habit once you create it, but it's harder to maintain. It's harder to break a habit or break a string of consistency when it's just something you've kind of been known for. And what I mean by that is the Indiana Fever, wildly enough, have started very slow against power teams. They've started slow against Golden State. They've started slow against the Vegas Aces multiple times. They started slow against the New York Liberty multiple times. They've started slow against Phoenix multiple times. They started slow against Chicago. So it's just like like, how many times can you start slow and claw back and then win by 20 plus points, 100 plus, having a streak of having the most games right now in WNBA history of 100 plus points. Like, it's just like, how many times can you start off slow, claw back, and then just start whooping on people? Like, let's just start hot and stay hot. I definitely know it's a hard thing to do, especially like when you don't quite have a solidified starting five, but you have a solidified core. So I totally understand it. Either way, back to history in itself. Like I said, Kelsey Mitchell continues to just put together on an impressive streak here. Again, last night's game now has her streak extended to 17 straight games with 20 plus more points. Like, the consistency that comes out of the working machine that is Kelsey Mitchell is impressive, and I really have no idea how she just does it. And she's, like I said, she's a consummate player. She's a consummate professional. Like, everybody in the locker room in Indiana Feverland loves her like that. I don't care who you are. That is her team. Kelsey Mitchell is the Indiana Fever. While Caitlin Clark is there, Leah Boston is there, Kelsey Mitchell is the Indiana Fever. She was drafted there straight out of Ohio State. She's been there through thick and thin. Kelsey Mitchell has built her name and her career off of just the fact that she has prided herself off of being a Fever girl. And that's what I love to see, that type of passion and respect from a player to their team and its organization. It's just, for me, it's something that's very exciting. It's something that's very, like, refreshing, like seeing a player of that nature and then just building on top of it and just keep building and keep building. You had Erica Wheeler, you were in there with Christy Side, you were in there with Lynn Dunn, and then now you had one final season with Christy Sides, and then you get back Coach White. And for me, that's what it is. It's like, she has not strayed from being a Fever girl, and it's showing in her gameplay as well. It's the consistency for me. It's the fact that she's a Fever girl through and through, and she's gonna work and work and work and work. Some of the shots that Kelsey Mitchell, like, just is able to create for herself and create for her teammates is very much equivalent to players in the NBA. I don't want to say she's like a female LeBron or a female Steph. Her name is Kelsey Mitchell, and her game emulates the game that she wants it to emulate. I mean, and she was in an interview a couple weeks ago saying that, she very often emulated Allen Iverson in terms of who she wanted her gameplay to kind of take after. So I'm here for it. Either way, she's showing consistency. She got those 17 straight games of 20 plus points or more. More on the consistency side. And yes, we're talking about Caitlin Clark because she is an assist machine. She's also somebody who's out here breaking her own records and breaking records and moving into placement lines such as Sue Bird. What I mean by that, Caitlin Clark is literally now past Sue Bird for third overall all time in double doubles by a guard. Okay, that puts her at number 3 on the list, and literally doing it in less than 100 games and 490 or 498 games less than Sue Bird. Obviously, Sue Bird played for 20 plus years. Caitlin Clark is in her 3rd season, but the fact that she has done this in 82 games is insanity to me. And on top of that, she has 29 games. So Sue Bird had 28 double-doubles in 580 games. Caitlin Clark has 82 games and 29 double-doubles. That's insanity. Again, that puts her at number 3 on the overall double-double list for guard. I mean, like, seriously. Like, come on now. I'm kind of infatuated with the stat line for me. But it's interesting when you really think about it. Like, dang, like, she's in her 3rd season. She hasn't even played a full 100 games yet. And mind you, if Caitlin Clark didn't get hurt last year, she probably would have still broken this record. It obviously would have been just about 100 games, if not a couple games just there under. So it's crazy to really think about. On top of that, Caitlin Clark, obviously we know her for her passing ability, her court vision, and the fact that she likes to drop 3-point nuke bombs from Schenectady, from Egypt, from Canada, whatever country or continent is that's surrounding her. Caitlin Clark shooting a 3-point ball. And what I mean by that also is she was knocking down shots over people that were almost 7 feet tall, like Brianna Stewart, who's 6'4", and Hong Zhu, who's 6'11". Hong Zhu for the New York Liberty, who primarily plays the 5 spot when she's on the floor. She is that rotating third piece between Jonquel Jones, Brianna Stewart, and herself when one of them's not on the floor. And I'm laughing because Caitlin Clark is only 6 feet tall. Caitlin Clark is 6 feet tall. Brianna Stewart is 6'4". Hong Zhu is 6'11". And if you go back and watch the replay, like there's clips all over, and you can find all this information at yahoosports.com, WNBA.com, as well as ESPN.com and FoxSports.com as well. Again, we love to cite our sources here. That's how we do it here. Cite your sources until you get the credibility, and even then you still cite your sources. Either way, Caitlin Clark, the shot that she took over Hong Zhu, I was like, ain't no way she's about to make this shot. This shot is not going nowhere close to this basket. It had good arc on it, and listen, I was wrong. It is probably one of the best times for me to ever be wrong, because the way that ball just went all the way, so if you can see me on the screen, Caitlin Clark is here. Hong Zhu is right in front of her at 7 feet tall. Okay, she doesn't even have to step back. She took like a half a step and then just, and it just, the perfect arch that this thing had over Hong Zhu. I was just like, if this thing don't go in, I'm still saying it's a really good shot selection. It just hits the bottom of the net. I was like, okay. And then you shoot another one over Brianna Stewart, who has a 7-foot wingspan at 6'4". It's insanity. Like, what? Come on now. Like, who's doing that? Like, who's doing that? And I'm getting excited about it, because it's just things like that that make the game of basketball right now in its entirety. And before we kind of move on into our next segment here, I also want to let you guys know that the duo of Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell have also set a new WNBA record for most combined points by a duo ever in a 10-game stretch, with 516 points as of last night. 516 points in 10 games by two of the best guards in the WNBA, both of whom are on the MVP list. And, contrary to popular belief, I don't, y'all can try to troll me, all the things. Caitlin Clark deserves to be on the MVP list. I don't necessarily think she's going to win. And personally, I think it's going to be between Olivia Miles, Asia Wilson, and Kelsey Mitchell for the top three in terms of the MVP spot. The bottom two are going to be Paige Beckers and Caitlin Clark. And it's not unfortunate to be top 5 on the list of WNBA MVP hopefuls is nuts in its entirety. Olivia Miles is also about to lock up Rookie of the Year. I don't care what you tell me. Like I said, we're gonna dive deep into Minnesota Lynx and Olivia Miles as well in the next couple shows here. But the fact that Kelsey Mitchell and Caitlin Clark alone have combined for 516 points is insanity to me in 10 games. It's nuts. And the fact that Aaliyah Boston is about to keep adding to that, and they're about to end up being, probably by the end of the season, depending on, even without having the, not adding like the playoff one, Aaliyah Boston, when she starts to get her numbers back up, which is obviously happening, she was out for a couple games with that lower leg injury. They're already one of the most high scoring offenses in the WNBA, let alone they're about to be the highest scoring trio in the WNBA and in Indiana Fever history. It's crazy to me to even think about that being a thing. So, like I said, when you look at these two, they've been doing it together. You can see why the Fever have been making some noise. You can see why there's a lot of chatter around the Indiana Fever in its entirety, not just Caitlin, not just Aaliyah, not just Kelsey, not just Sophie, controversies, things like that. The Indiana Fever, seemingly enough, are doing things consistently and doing things at a winning rate, just like the Aces, just like the Valkyrie, just like those teams that we are consistently talking about, just like the Minnesota Lynx as well. It's crazy to me. So listen, I also want to know, before we end this segment here and get into the rest of the show, because we do have just about 20-ish minutes left here on the Mack Truck Podcast. Mack Truck in the morning-ish for you. My name is Mack Truck. I appreciate it. Thank you for joining me. Like, tap, share, and subscribe. All the things I would appreciate if you did such a thing. Okay. Are Kelsey Mitchell and Caitlin Clark becoming the best scoring duo in the league right now? Is there another duo that's doing it better than them? If there is, drop it in the comments. Drop it in my inbox. Drop it via airmail. I want to know, do you guys truly think, like, no bias aside, if you're watching the game in its entirety, do you think Kelsey Mitchell and Caitlin Clark are the best scoring duo in the WNBA right now? Also, this is also brought to you by Dirty Dr. Pepper. This is my one soda for the day. Been proud of myself, been cutting back on a lot of stuff, getting my body back together. Okay. Listen, normally I would have cracked by now. I'd have had 3. I've only had 1. This morning I had 1 cup of coffee, 1 Dirty Dr. Pepper, and some waffles. I'm feeling pretty good about myself. Fee and live. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Valid. Nafisa Collier and Olivia Miles, absolutely. I would also even add to that kind of like a three-way combo. I'd say I'd add Courtney Williams to that. Even though it says duo, you could interchange Fee and Courtney Williams, but definitely Olivia Miles is absolutely in that for sure. Absolutely in that in its entirety. That's a very good answer and a very true answer. I can't even argue. But like I said, I want to know what you guys think. Is there another duo out there outside of these two duos? Is there one that's doing it better than the both of them? I don't know if there's necessarily somebody that's doing it ultimately better than the Minnesota Lynx because of their record, but in terms of just points alone and the fact that it seemingly enough keeps happening, I would say if Fee were able to have come back from the double ankle surgery a little bit earlier, I would even say they would be number one. But I think personally they're kind of tied right now. But because of the record of the Minnesota Lynx, I do naturally put them just above the Indiana Fever, and that's just because their record shows it. The Indiana Fever's record also shows it, but they haven't been quite as consistent as the Minnesota Lynx has been. So tell me what you think. Drop it in the chat. Drop it in my, like I said, drop it in my inbox. Drop it wherever you like. I appreciate you guys for joining us. But before we get into the final topic here on the Mac Truck podcast, Mac Truck in the Morning, if you will, we got to give a shout out to the network. Always got to give a shout out to the network and our executive producer, Evan Thunder Bradfield. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you guys here on the Underknown Network. Like I said, if you're rocking with the show, make sure you're following with everything, supporting everything that we've got going on. There's a lot of great content through the Underknown Network itself. Like I said, I'm proud to be a part of it. I love it here. It's the best decision I've made for myself so far in terms of trying to get where I want to with this entire thing. I appreciate you guys for all the support. Thank you for the follows and the likes. Make sure you get your daily heart means. Make sure you get all of the things. Make sure you're sharing it out on either side. And of course, you're watching us here live on the TikTok sphere and the Underknown Network in its entirety. Again, make sure you tap the screen, hit the follow button, share the live, get involved with the conversation. And I love the fact that there's been a lot of engagement. Numbers are a little low today, but it is Wednesday. Hump days are weird like that. It's okay. Listen, don't just sit back and watch. Jump in the chat, tap it in. I literally, like I said, we literally appreciate and love the fact that everybody continues to support my podcast, my show, as well as the network itself. So make sure you're tapping in, showing love to everything on the network as well for all things Underknown. Moving on, back to sports. Listen, it's time to talk about the NFL. But not specifically a player right now, more or less a former player. Tony Romo, okay? And I haven't covered this in its entirety because I was personally waiting to see what CBS said because I wanted to give the entire rundown. So here's the rundown. Here's the meat and bones of it. Like I said, tap the screen, share it out, all the things. Let's get back in the algorithm. So Tony Romo, obviously former quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, current CBS NFL analyst, is dealing obviously with some controversies after being arrested in Wisconsin on suspicion of operating a motor vehicle while intoxicated, which is a big no-no. Everybody that is of drinking age knows that is a no-no. You can't get away with it. You can't hide it. Why we're making decisions like this is crazy to me. Now Tony Romo has denied drinking, so obviously we have to let the legal process play out before jumping to any crazy conclusions. Obviously, it's innocent until proven guilty, but if it barks like a dog and wags its tail like a dog, it might be a dog. If it quacks like a duck, looks like a duck, might be a duck. It's the obvious things. Like I said, Tony Romo has denied drinking, so obviously, again, we have to wait for the legal processes to play out before the conclusions. But what really caught my attention, like I said, was the response from CBS. I didn't necessarily think that they were going to take this road in terms of, it just seems like they're taking the higher road of it all. And that's okay. I'm not going to say there's necessarily something wrong with it, but it's interesting because it's almost like it feels like they want to give him another chance, but obviously there has to be some kind of repercussion for doing that because you're in the public eye. You are one of the most highly touted NFL analysts on CBS. Now, he has kind of dipped in terms of just like popularity and stuff in the past couple of years because he's been there for a while. But currently, as it stands, according to CBS, and you can find this on apnews.com, NBCnews.com, abcnews.com, as well as NFLnews.com via Dallas Cowboys. CBS has placed Tony Romo on leave while they figure out what to do and then what they want to do moving forward. And right now, J.J. Watt has stepped in alongside Jim Nantz for the time being. I personally love me some J.J. Watt in its entirety. I love seeing him on cast, but the fact that he's now being essentially replaced for Tony Romo, I don't necessarily find to be a bad thing. Again, it's like because the response from CBS isn't clear. Like, and they literally say CBS has also made it clear that there's no timetable right now for a final decision on Tony Romo's future, and that's the thing that raises the interesting question with this whole thing. Is like, it seems like when you're a normal person living normal life, doing normal things, you kind of get a bunch of chances when it comes to trying to make right with the wrongdoings that you've had. Hi Chad, welcome in. Hi everybody, I see you guys. I swear I'm not ignoring you. We're just talking sports, just talking the entire Tony Romo situation here. But like I said, CBS hasn't made it clear if there's a timetable or when there's going to be a timetable for the entirety of the decision regarding Tony Romo. Like I said, it's almost like they want to give him another chance because he's so good, but you absolutely in some way, shape, or form need to be reprimanded. That you have to, you have to have that time to really think about what just happened. Like, obviously, like I said, it's innocent until proven guilty, but also in the same respect, like, well enough that drinking and driving is absolutely unsafe for everybody. You're putting yourself at risk. You're putting other people at risk. And it's a stupid decision. Like, if you're going to drink and you need to move around or you need to leave or you're doing something, make sure you have a designated driver or a different option of transport. Never get behind the wheel when you're intoxicated with anything. It doesn't matter. Gardening tools, alcohol, adult beverages. Make sure you have a backup plan, folks, because it literally saves everybody's life, including yours, including everybody else's. Chad said he has a surprise. I don't know if I'm excited for this. Is it going to light up the screen or is it going to irritate me? Like I said, I thank you guys for joining us here on the Mack Truck Podcast, Mack Truck in the Morning-ish, here with you, going over the CBS news and information regarding Tony Romo and this dirty Dr. Pepper. So good. So good. Love it here. Love this for me. It's going to irritate me. Well, at least you're a true friend, my guy. At least you're true. So listen, just kind of going back, I have questions. I have so many questions, and I really want to know from you guys. So my first question is, do you think CBS is handling this entire thing the right way? Like, do you think CBS is like, okay, we still need time to figure this out. We still need time for the investigation to come back, that type of thing. Should they take a step back and let everything play out before making a decision? Or, because Tony Romo is one of the biggest NFL personalities, should CBS be making a stronger statement about what they expect from their talent? I mean, if Romo isn't ultimately convicted of anything, do you bring him back to the booth? Do you bring him back right away? Because honestly, at the end of the day, it's just like Tony Romo. It isn't just the fact that Tony Romo was a former quarterback. It's the fact that Tony Romo is representing one of the biggest sports in the network and one of the biggest sports networks in the country and really the globe in its entirety. So like I said, I want to hear from you guys. Do you think that CBS is making the correct move? What would you do if you were a CBS exec over there? How would you handle this? I really want to know. And I personally, I don't know if I necessarily have a way to do that. Did you already? I did not. Hi, Anthony. Welcome in. I appreciate you for joining us. Thank you for joining us, my dear friend. We're talking sports here. Two of my best guy friends are in the chat here over on the TikTok sphere. I see some people over here on the StreamYard as well. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. We're talking sports. We're talking all kinds of things. These two are having a whole different conversation, and I kind of love it. Listen, there's no tide rolling here. We're not talking about college football yet, Chad, but it's okay if you would like to keep hollering Roll Tide in my chat. I appreciate you guys for joining us, though. But like I said, do you guys think that CBS is doing the right thing? Listen, Anthony, I don't have some sofa in here. I have a chair. My chair right here. The sofa's out there. Thank you for the daily Harmony. I appreciate it, my friend. I don't, and I keep kind of fumbling with this because I don't necessarily think that CBS is wrong in its entirety. The sofa's $100, guys. It's super cheap today. It might even drop to 99 cents. But yeah, I don't know if I would necessarily take a different step if I'm a CBS executive. I would also like to say that we have to remember that while we are all human beings, we all make mistakes and we all have messed up in some way, shape, or form in our lifetime. Unfortunately, being in the national limelight, I feel like kind of takes away from that. It takes away from the entirety of being innocent until proven guilty. It's almost like when you're a celebrity or when you have powers in some way, shape, or form, that it's just it's a very slim margin. And what I mean by that is like, okay, if I'm a celebrity and I decide that, I go out and I get into a fight at a bar or a nightclub and it ends up being on TMZ, it ends up being national news. Oh, Mack Truck got in a fight, in a nightclub, and she's an MMA fighter or whatever that looks like. My having the status I have, unfortunately, elevates that more than it should. And not more than it should, but more than it would on a normal basis if I were just a normal person going into an establishment and having that same issue. So like I said, I don't necessarily know if CBS is doing the wrong thing. I don't think they're necessarily doing it wrong. I don't think they're necessarily doing it right. I think they're literally just trying to wait and see what the rest of the investigation brings. And I think that's very fair. But also, in the meanwhile, while football, no, I haven't sold this over yet, Mr. Soul Snatcher. Everybody, thank you guys for joining us. We got all kinds of crazy stuff going on over here. We got all kinds of crazy stuff happening over here. I got random text messages coming in about sofas and all kinds of things, all the inside jokes. We love it. I love it. You guys are engaging, and that's what we're talking about here. In its entirety, though, with football season coming up, especially with preseason already starting, like more preseason games coming this weekend. We're talking about more baseball tomorrow, talking about NFL preseason as well. I think the entirety of the fact is that while they're still trying to figure out this whole investigation with Tony Romo, you essentially have to replace him. Jim Nantz can't do it all by himself. It is literally a two-person job. And that's where you put in a Tom Brady, you put in a J.J. Watt. And like I said, he's currently right now being replaced with J.J. Watt. So you still have a dynamic duo there with Jim Nantz and J.J. Watt. Tony Romo, if I had to put a guess on it right now, I would say that CBS in some way, shape, or form is obviously going to suspend him for some time, possibly, fine him, whatever that looks like. I'm not sure what those types of repercussions look like in the realm of like news broadcasting and like live sports broadcasting, even though I am trying to get there personally. I obviously don't know the ins and outs of everything. Thank you so much, Mr. Snow Slasher. I appreciate it. I don't necessarily know what that looks like, but if I had to take an educated guess, I would think that we as an entirety will see Tony Romo suspended or hear that he's suspended or alleviated from his duties in some way, shape, or form. For an extended period of time. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know if this has been a problem for Tony Romo in the past. And if it has, this is something, we don't know if this is something that's been an issue before and it's just been covered up or not been talked about, that type of thing. So either way, we'll wait to find out. But we're moving on into the last part of our show here. Talking about Kyler Murray, talking about the meat and bones of it. And again, you can find this information at yahoosports.com as well as ESPNNFL.com as well via the Minnesota Vikings. Listen, if you were with us here on the show yesterday, we broke the news right as it came out. The Minnesota Vikings, again, have appointed the starting quarterback spot to Kyler Murray. as soon as the season opens. So day one, game one, NFL season 2026-2027. Kyler Murray is your starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings, and JJ McCarthy still will end up waiting his turn. And listen, I'm not going to lie, I'm really interested as to why they made this decision so fast, because we still haven't even played any preseason games yet. But also, with that entirety, Kyler Murray is your starting quarterback, so I don't think we would expect to see him during a preseason game or for the entire length of a preseason game. I would think that Kyler Murray will play a quarter or two of each game leading up to the start of NFL season, obviously to get gameplay, get game speed, all the things, and then I would believe the rest of it is with JJ McCarthy and the backup quarterbacks over there in the realm of the Minnesota Vikings. I see some comments in here. Oh, the chat is busting right now. Come on, chat. Busting chat. Let's go. Did you see brown on sauce? I did see brown on sauce, and we're going to talk about that tomorrow as well. Listen, I love that y'all are bringing in these. Y'all are giving out the docket before I can even get it together for the next day. So I appreciate you guys just in here talking all the things. Listen, y'all are amazing. Go ahead and tap the screen and share it out. Get your dailies, all the things. Keep engaging on both sides. It's wild on both sides, and I love it. Either way, like I said, you still have JJ McCarthy, who was drafted in the first round in 2024 by the Minnesota Vikings. Again, he got hurt, didn't get to play the entirety of his rookie season because he tore his meniscus during that preseason game in 2024. So now I'm wondering, do y'all think that the Minnesota Vikings made this decision too fast? Do you think they made the right decision? According to Kevin O'See and the coaching staff over in Minnesota land, Viking land rather, obviously Kyler Murray showed what he needed to show to shore up that starting spot. My question is what was the point of drafting JJ McCarthy if you weren't going to give him a chance? Now, obviously, yes, he had a chance last season, but you also didn't have an offensive line. You had very little of an offensive line, but you had the pieces around you. You had Jordan Addison, you had obviously Justin Jefferson, those types of things, Aaron Jones. You have pieces around you, TJ Hawkinson, all of the things. But JJ McCarthy, personally, from a football player's perspective, is not ready. And that's okay. He's also technically only in his really second season of play. He's been there for 3, but has only played for really 1.5. And it's interesting to me because if this whole thing with Kyler Murray doesn't pan out, and I personally believe that it will pan out, but I also believe that JJ McCarthy is going to get his chance to also showcase the fact listen, I'm still here. You drafted me for a reason. But at this point in time, the move for the Minnesota Vikings to pick up Kyler Murray on a really low minimum, okay, really low minimum deal of $3 million for 1 year. If you know the backstory in terms of why Kyler Murray was so excited to go over to Minnesota, that was his childhood team. They showed photos of him in Vikings gear as a kid. So this is kind of full circle for him. And I think it's going to be able to showcase what he's about as a quarterback. Obviously, we know he can extend plays with his feet. He is a little bit shorter at 5'10.5". And everybody's fear is he can't see over the offensive line. Obviously, he didn't have a problem seeing over the offensive line in Arizona when he was there. Yeah, he was a little bit injury prone, but also not having those pieces around you as far as your offensive line to protect you, because you have to have an offensive line to protect you to be able to give time for the ball to release is a thing. So it's interesting to me that this has happened so fast, but in retrospect, it's also not that fast because preseason is here. Football season itself is almost here. So it's just okay, you made the right decision. So, now you got to stick with that decision unless something catastrophic happens. And that's where we're at this point. So either way, like I said, I understand going with experience, especially if you believe Kyler Murray has the best chance to win right now, which is why they drafted him. And to answer my own question, that is why they drafted him. They needed a quarterback now while JJ McCarthy was developing, because they still fully believe that JJ McCarthy is the quarterback that he has shown the potential. Obviously in the draft, having that national championship coming out of Michigan under Coach Harbaugh with Blake Corum and all of that. So it's a thing. He's just not developed enough yet to take over the reins of that. Either way, like I said, at the same time, you still gotta wonder what it means for JJ McCarthy. Is he going to want to trade? Do you think his spirits have been shot? What does that look like? Is Kyler Murray about to come into Minnesota and kind of prove that he has something left in the tank, as we historically have seen? Kevin O'Connell and the Minnesota Vikings quarterback staff, coaching staff, is and are and have been quarterback resurgence. Sam Darnold, Nick Mullins, Carson Wentz to an extent, okay? Daniel Jones to an extent. So you look at the pedigree of quarterbacks that have come into the Minnesota Vikings realm, and you see now Sam Darnold, Super Bowl champion. Daniel Jones, damn near won the AFC South last year. Okay, if he didn't tear his Achilles and break his leg in one shot, he may have won it. So and all that stems from coming back, like going into a team like the Minnesota Vikings and having your career research, and it's great to see. I love it. I'm excited to see what Kyler is going to do. I'm excited to see what Jade is going to do. I'm excited to see if this ends up being a quarterback battle the entire season, if it's just one game, 2 games. Like, I'm excited to see. Listen, I'm not reading the chat for a specific reason, y'all. It's okay, though. Y'all are just out here having fun, and I really appreciate it. It is not duck-proof. Nothing in here is duck-proof. Nothing in here is tide-proof. It's all good, though. Boston, welcome in. I appreciate you guys for joining us here. We're getting to the back part of the last topic here on the Mack Truck Podcast, Mack Truck in the Morning-ish. Here, presented to you by the Underknown Network, as well as TikTok Live itself. So if you're just joining us, just go wrapping up the meat and bones of the decision from the Minnesota Vikings in its entirety to appoint Kyler Murray the starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. You love to see it. I love to see it. If you don't love to see it, I'm not sure what you're here for, other than to just do whatever's happening in both sides of the chat. And I love to see it. Either way, I have questions for you guys about this whole thing. If you've been paying attention and not talking about sofas in the chat and asking if things are duck proof. I almost said dog proof. This is going to make these cuts are going to be fantastic. I love it here. Either way, hello, Nested. Welcome in. I love the fact that everybody's popping in here. Thank you so much for joining me. So I have a question. Would you have rather started Kyler Murray, or would rather have given JJ McCarthy the opportunity to see if he could solidify that starting spot? That is the question of the day, and really the question of the entirety of this whole thing. And kind of the other thing I want to talk about in terms of this entire thing is with Kyler Murray now being the starting quarterback, does that mean, like, what does that look like for the Minnesota Vikings in terms of the NFC North? Because obviously you still have Green Bay, you still have Chicago, you still have to Detroit as well. It's your birthday. Oh, well, happy birthday. Listen, don't start making me act like big country. It's everybody's birthday out here in its entirety. Merry birthday, happy Christmas, all the things. Okay. Y'all are funny. Listen, up in you, this is Wholesome Wednesday, sir. Maybe next time. Maybe on a weekend. Either way, what does the scope of the NFC North look like now that Kyler Murray is the current solidified number 1 quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings? I don't necessarily know what that means because obviously the season hasn't started yet. Either way, but goes back to my question. Would you have personally started Kyler Murray, or would you have given JJ McCarthy the opportunity? I also feel like in its entirety, if JJ McCarthy were ready, he would have been able to capitalize and show the things that the coaching staff for Minnesota was looking for. And that's not necessarily actually said something about the topic. What did you say? Because I didn't see it, my dear executive producer. The chat's kind of rolling fast, and I'm a little bit on the slower side today. But I would love to know what you said about said topic in terms of the Minnesota Vikings quarterback situation. And like I said, I appreciate you guys for joining. If you're just popping in, this is the Mack Truck Podcast, Mack Truck in the Morning-ish. Okay? If you're here with us hanging out, I appreciate it so much. My name is Mack, coming to you live from the TikTok sphere, as well as the Underknown Network. Got about 10 minutes left in the show today. We are here daily, 12:30 Eastern Standard Time to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, give or take a couple minutes here and there. But we are here weekly, Monday to Friday, here on the Underknown Network, as well as the TikTok stream itself. And like I said, I'm totally blocking all of you. So blocking all of you. The chat over here is crazy. This is why you have best friends. All of them, all kinds of them are in here just doing whatever it is they want to do. I'm here for it. We love the engagement. We love all of the fun here on the Mack Truck Pod. Listen, before we close it out and kind of get to some more audience interaction, if you will, got to give a shout out to the official sponsor, founding member, and executive producer of the Mack Truck Podcast, the Underknown Network, as well as the not really co-founder, really sole proprietor, founder, and main sponsor of the Mack Truck Podcast and In My Bag Apparel and Customs by Evan Bradfield down there in the chat. Make sure you follow him for all things In My Bag Apparel, as well as Mack Truck Apparel. Listen, if you're looking to support a brand and rock some gear, make sure you check out In My Bag Apparel at bigcartel.com, and you can shop also through the TikTok shop as well. I know, listen, one of my friends messaged me on Instagram and was like, listen, I finally got my truck shirt. We love the fact that you got the truck shirt, okay? All Mack Truck merchandise is on inmybag.bigcartel.com. We also got some dope designs and features for you. Definitely want to check out, including West Coast Legends, Bulls Dynasty, and Ring Me. And personally, Ring Me is my favorite Golden State Warrior inspired line, and it's not even kind of dope. It is dope. It's sick. All the designs, all of the lines on In My Bag Apparel are what you're looking for. I don't care who you are. Truck apparel is also on there. I always try to make sure we're pushing out everything else but my apparel. But my apparel is also on such a website. Of course, listen, best friend, you already know what's good. Executive producer, y'all know what's good. We have, listen, you two, y'all are insanity in this chat. Either way, right now, when you shop online at inmybag.bigcartel.com, as well as the TikTok shop, and use the code word truck, you will receive 15% off your entire first order. Again, that's code word truck, TRUCK, for 15% off your entire first order when you order online. Like I said, all things Mack Truck Pod apparel, all things In My Bag Apparel itself, including Bulls Dynasty, Ring Me, and West Coast Legends, and frankly, out of the three, okay, outside of my own. Thank you for the corgi. I appreciate you, Nested. Thank you so much for being in here with us. West Coast Legends is probably my favorite right now. This far, like I said, I have over $1,500 in my cart, and I can't wait to actually be able to get all of it, because I'm about to just be up in here, just rolling all things In My Bag Apparel, all things West Coast Legends, all things Ring Me. Like this car of mine is frightening. It's equivalent to my wife's Halloween online shopping order, frankly, probably more. And we love that here. But like I said, when you're here with us, you represent the brand, you're representing the truck, you're representing In My Bag Apparel and the network itself. Underknown Network Apparel is also on there, on the map apparel is on there with the collaboration. Yes, the K-Dot and the Cube one also is very, 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 very hard. I am not even going to sit here and lie to you. And I appreciate you guys for joining us here. Like I said, once again, inmybagapparel.bigcartel.com or the TikTok shop. Use the code word truck to get 15% off your entire first order online. Support the brand, rock the gear, and let everybody everywhere know where you got it. Listen, the Mack Truck Podcast, we're here. We're staying tuned. We're staying sporty. We got about 5 minutes left in the show for engagement. I see there's a lot of stuff happening in the chat. I see we got some likes and shares over here on the other side, so I do appreciate it. And like I said, you guys can find the Mack Truck Show only as it stands right now on the Underknown Network as well. You can find it here on the TikTok stream as well, until we figure out how to put all of them together in one place so we don't have two screens, but it gives for great angles, I'll tell you that. Also in its entirety, for those of you who were not here with us yesterday, from now on, we will be on the Mack Truck Podcast page, and I need to actually go back so you guys can tap the screen. Please make sure you're following the Mack Truck Podcast page. That is where our shows will be from now on. We were there yesterday, but realized I didn't get a chance to really let y'all know that's where the show's going to be. So once we get our new graphics out for everything, we will be heading. It'll be on the flyer. It'll be on all things in terms of um, our show content. So please, please, please make sure you're tapping the screen, liking, sharing, subscribing. Make sure you are following the Mac Truck Podcast page. We're going to start doing all show content from over there. We're still going to have some show content over here, but the majority of it will still be back over on the show page. Trying to get the algorithm back over there. We had some interesting issues. I was locked out of for like 3 months and I have no idea why. I think a lot of it is because I think the TikTok system thought it was like a fake account and it's like not. So I had to like re-verify all the unfortunate things that go with having two pages. So this is my main page. Like I said, we're doing all show content from now on over there, unless something catastrophic happens. But that is what we have for y'all today. I appreciate you joining me here. Again, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the Mac Truck Podcast on the Underknown Network. You can find it at Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify. Make sure you're following everything on YouTube, all other social media platforms, especially here on the TikTok sphere and the StreamYard. This dirty Dr. Pepper is really dirty, and it's not Dr. Peppery. It's just full of cold foam and ice, and I'm okay with that. And like I said, we got a couple minutes here, and I'm really, really scared to look at this chat. Yes, also on the Underknown Network YouTube channel. And I apologize, I keep forgetting to plug that. But yes, the Underknown Network YouTube channel, Discord, Twitch, the Mac Truck Podcast YouTube channel, the Mac Truck Podcast Facebook page as well, the group page as well. And to be... Anthony, yes, I thank you guys for sending me all the gifts and keeping the chat rolling and just coming in here and being your natural selves. I appreciate it. And also, like I said, I do have a group on Facebook for the page itself. And I'm honestly, there's not been a lot of traction in it, so I'm honestly debating about shutting the actual group down and just keeping the page itself. If you're active in the group, let me know if I should keep it. I'm not in there enough to manage it a lot, but I do have some pretty badass admins, including the executive producer and director of the Underknown Network. So I may just keep it for that purpose. And I also like to use that page just to let a lot of my other fellow sports shows and podcasters, share their stuff and share their shows in there as well. So I'm thinking I might keep it. I'm kind of back and forth on it. Either way, it's about 1:50 here in Michigan. I am here for all things, whatever is going on down here in this chat. I'm for it. Big shout out to Anthony. Big shout out to Chad, Duck Daddy, Soul Snatcher on the map. My big homie, the best friend, the executive producer, Evan Thunder Bradfield, Nested Stitches, Alfonso, all you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it. Like I said, please make sure you're following the Mac Truck Podcast page for all things show content from now on. And if you're not following, I'll be sure to hop on there and make sure I'm following everybody on there. Like I said, content will be there from now on, but we're still going to go live from the Mac Truck page in its entirety, just not so much with show stuff unless something catastrophic happens and I need to fix the algorithm. But if nobody else has anything productive to say, I am going to go ahead and end the show. And I'm going to go harass my wife for its entirety of the next 45 minutes while I'm getting ready for work. But like I said, like, share, and subscribe, all things to the Underknown Network. Buy your sofas somewhere else, guys. Y'all in these sofas. Listen, I'm fresh out of sofas today. You might want to ask Big Country. I bet he got a bunch of sofas over there for you hooligans. Either way, my name's Mac Truck. I appreciate you guys for joining me here on the Mac Truck Podcast. Again, here daily for you on Underknown Network, the YouTube channel, the Switch. Don't take it out on your wife. Listen, I couldn't take it out on her if I tried. That woman is very intimidating. I don't intimidate easily, but that woman, I'm not messing with her in the back alley. I'm not messing with her on a set of staircases. I'm not messing with her really anywhere. The woman is she's a scary and intimidating Latina woman. And I love it. It's fine. It's great. Either way, I appreciate you guys for joining us. Like I said, we're here weekdays, Monday to Friday, 12:30 Eastern to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Mac Truck in the morning-ish, depending on where you're at in the natural country. My name is Mac Truck. I will see y'all tomorrow. Like I said, hi, Jade. Welcome in. You are literally just missing me on the closing, but I will be back tomorrow for another edition of Mac Truck in the morning-ish, the Mac Truck podcast presented to you guys all by the Underknown Network and TikTok itself. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And speaking of my wife, she just walked by. Hi, babe. Hi. Either way, I appreciate you guys for joining us today. Thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow. Also, if you have topics that you want me to talk about, throw them in my inbox. And yes, make sure you check out all the highlights because I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of them. And I can't wait to go back onto my TikTok and see. Y'all on this sofa. Listen, Big Country's going live later. Ask him for a sofa. He's got plenty of sofas over there. I have like 2. So either way, I appreciate you guys for joining us. Thank you so much. We will see you on the other side.